Hi, my name's Karen Rice and welcome to my YouTube watercolour channel. I'm going to be painting a step-by-step watercolour painting of some skies, mountains, water and grasses, and showing you the sort of different techniques that you can use to create them. So I really hope you enjoy it and find it useful. And for a full list of all the materials that I use in this demonstration with colours and alternatives, see the description. And also for the photo link, it will also be in the description below. Just click show more or the little down arrow on the right hand side at the bottom of the video. I've drawn my picture in already, and for those of you that would like access to drawing sketches, outline sketches, why not think about joining my Patreon membership? Details about that can be found if you click the link in the top right hand corner of this video. Mixed up two colours, Cerulean and Phthalo blue. I've wet parts of my paper and I'm painting sort of wet on wet and a little bit wet on dry here and there with my size 14 brush, working my way towards the horizon. I'm using those same blues now to paint the water, sort of in the middle distance here, using my size 6 brush, wet in wet. I paint the foreground grasses, grass area, wet in wet as well, using lighter greens and then darker greens, quite creamy paint, damp into damp, just to create some of those darks here and there. I'm just sprinkling a little bit of sea salt in the foreground, but you can use table salt as well. I'm going to let that dry naturally so it sort of absorbs the paint and creates some lovely light textures. And I'm using my plastic card now to scratch into the surface of the paper to create sort of thin dark grasses. I've allowed my painting to dry and I'm painting the sort of furthest mountain with a mixture of a touch of pink and a touch of blue, quite watered down, wet on dry, and then I'm sort of diluted my brush and I'm just softening now and diluting and blending so it really pushes back that distant mountain. I did the same to the left hand side as well and allowed them to dry, and I'm just building up now slightly stronger colour or tonal value on this next distant mountain, and I've used a touch of the pink, a touch of the blue and a touch of green as well, just to slightly bring it forward. You still want your wash to be slightly pale, you don't want it too dark, otherwise it will come forward too much. I'm painting the grasses now in the middle distance using a little bit of yellow, a touch of blue and maybe a little bit of touch of burnt sienna, wet on dry. As you saw there, I used my plastic card as well to create some grasses, and I'm using the side or the belly of my brush now to get some nice texture, side brush, dry brush, onto these sort of top of these foreground grasses here to create some more details. I've allowed my painting to dry again, and I'm painting this sort of middle sort of mountain here with my size 6 brush using kind of a mid-tone green. That would be the blue plus the yellow, and this is wet on dry. I've just added a tiny touch of the pink here as well, just to create a little bit of warmth now as we're bringing these mountains sort of closer to us to create more the illusion of depth. I'm painting this nearest mountain now using yellow, quinacridone gold and a little bit of cerulean with the yellow mixed to create sort of limey green. This is kind of like my base coat. So I'm getting all the lighter colours on first. I'm giving this mountain lots more detail because it's kind of the nearest one to us, and again it creates depth. And I'm just using a little bit more of a creamier dark green there. And also I've switched to a size 14 brush now because it's a larger sort of area, and I really recommend that. Now I'm putting in some creamy phthalo blue with a touch of the quinacridone gold, damp into damp, to create some sort of details and stronger tones on this mountain, using my size 6 brush now just to paint some darks on the edges, just to really bring it forward. And this is damp into damp, so make sure your paint brush hasn't got too much liquid on it. And I'm just putting a bit of darks here and there. I'm using my plastic card now just to lift off the paint, not to scratch the surface of the paint, but just to lift off the paint. And the way to achieve this is to make sure the paint's absolutely damp, it's not too wet. If the paint runs back in, wait a few more minutes and have another go. It's really effective, and it gets lights and details and textures on this nearest mountain. I'm just covering up the sort of the mountains and the sky and the water, just to spatter some white gouache on the foreground. You can use white watercolor paint as well, and I'm using my size 6 brush, and this is wet on dry, and it just gives a little bit of sparkle. And there are lots of little white flowers on these grass areas as well, so I thought it'd be quite nice to use some of the white paint. I'm also using it to put some light in the water as well, and that's quite useful, especially if you've lost a little bit of your light. And this is wet on dry with my size 6 brush. I've allowed my painting to dry again, and I'm using a technique I haven't actually showed on YouTube before. I'm using my Stanley knife to scratch out the dry paper. Make sure your painting is dry, and it just lifts off some, it actually tears the paper in a way, but it scratches it off and it leaves some sort of sparkly sort of effects. So if you didn't want to use the white gouache, you could actually use the Stanley knife. Just be careful with them because it's a sharp blade, etc. So I like to say that. But it's really effective, and I'm just lifting off here and there in the water to finish off. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial with lots of the different sort of techniques, the spattering, the scratching out with the card, the lifting off with the card, using wet in wet, damp into damp, and just really trying to create a nice atmospheric landscape. If you have any questions about this tutorial, please put them in the comments section below, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. And if you'd like to see more tutorials like this, why not subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll get updates of my latest videos. Thank you again for watching. Happy painting. Bye for now.